The day I stood accused, I was 21. Not for theft, not for treachery, but for the sin of the tongue, for daring to speak aloud what others only whispered. My crime was truth, and in that truth I had condemned a man who called himself the voice of God. I had seen the parish priest take from the poor, coins meant for the hungry, grain meant for the widow, and store them in his own granary. I had seen his table heavy with food while the children of the village begged for crumbs. I could not stay silent, but in that silence the others survived and I did not. When I spoke, they listened with wide eyes and closed mouths as though the air itself had turned to fire. The next morning the steward's men came for me. They did not speak as they bound my wrists. They only dragged me through the square, where faces I had known since childhood turned away, afraid that even a glance could be guilt. The chapel court waited at the edge of the village, a place where law ended and judgment began, where punishment was given not to correct the flesh but to cleanse the soul. The sun was falling low, throwing long shadows across the stone yard. The villagers gathered in a tight circle, their murmurs rising and falling like waves. Some pitied me, I could see it in their eyes. Others feared what would happen if they pitied too much. To speak against a priest, they had been told, was to speak against God himself, and none among them dared to share my curse. The holy man sat beneath the carved stone arch. His robe was heavy with gold thread, his fingers shining with rings. The setting sun struck his face, turning the folds of his cheeks to molten bronze. He did not look at me as a man looks upon another soul, but as one might look upon filth at the edge of his shoe. The wages of pride, he intoned, voice echoing through the courtyard, are to be laid bare before God and man. At his word, the guard stepped forward. They tore away the shawl from my shoulders, loosened the laces of my gown, and stripped me down to a thin linen shift. The fabric clung to my skin in the evening heat. My shame was their first punishment, to take from me my dignity, to make my body a lesson. The crowd fell silent. Only the creak of rope and the soft scuff of boots on dust could be heard. The priest rose, the heavy cross at his chest glinting as he lifted it high. His eyes met mine at last, cold, deliberate, and certain. "Confess," he said. "Renounce your false words and you will be spared the rod." But there was no falsehood to renounce. I had spoken what I had seen. To call truth a lie would be to stain my own soul forever. My silence was my confession. His jaw hardened. He gave a nod. The executioner stepped forward. His face was blank, his eyes dull as river stones. In his hand the whip hung coiled, a black serpent ready to strike. He took his place behind me. I could hear the crowd draw breath as one. The first lash came like thunder. The crack tore through the courtyard, echoing off stone and sky. Fire spread across my back. My body arched forward against the post, a sound, half gasp, half cry, caught in my throat. The second blow came lower. Pain bloomed like molten iron, bright and consuming. The third landed across the same mark as the first, tearing the welt open. I bit my lip until blood filled my mouth. The fourth struck fast, sharp as a knife. My knees buckled. The rope at my wrists cut deep into flesh, holding me upright as my strength failed. The fifth lash tore through the thin linen. I felt the sting of leather on bare skin. My cry escaped before I could stop it, raw, broken, echoing against the stone walls. The sixth fell across my shoulders. I clenched my fists until I felt the rope burn my palms. Blood slicked beneath the hemp. The seventh crossed the others diagonally, carving a red X into my back. Pain doubled, old fire meeting new. The eighth left me trembling. My body sagged forward, my cheek pressed against the cold post, tears blurring the world. The ninth coiled around my ribs, biting deep. I sobbed openly, no longer caring who saw. And then came the 10th. The executioner drew back, measured, cruel. The sound cracked through the air and the lash landed square across my spine. The pain was white, beyond sound, beyond thought. My scream rose unbidden, ragged as a dying hymn. The priest raised his hand. The whip stilled. The guards cut the ropes and I fell, knees striking the earth, palms scraping against the dirt. My breath came shallow and quick, the shift clinging to me in tatters. The smell of blood, sweat, and dust filled my nose. I could not lift my head. They dragged me away as the villagers parted. Some crossed themselves. Some turned away. Yet in their silence I heard something new, doubt. That night they left me in a stone cell with only straw for a bed. My back throbbed with every heartbeat. The pain was alive, a creature of its own. Yet beneath it something else burned, a quiet defiance that would not die. They had stripped me before the holy man, tried to humiliate me beneath the gaze of God. They had broken the body, but they had not broken the voice, for though my lips were swollen and my flesh torn, my truth remained, bright, steady, unyielding. In the dark, I whispered to myself, not prayers, not pleas, just the truth, the same truth they tried to bury beneath the lash. The priest had sinned, not I. The people had seen it, though they dared not speak. But they would remember. Pain passes, fear fades, but doubt takes root. And in the days to come, that doubt would spread through the village like a spark on dry wheat. They would say later that my punishment was righteous, that the priest had cleansed the village of corruption. But I know this, that the moment the whip fell, something within them shifted. They saw not sin but cruelty, not rebellion but courage, and no sermon could ever unteach that. In the end, I was not free. My back would never heal smooth. The scars would remain, pale ridges across the skin, but each one a mark of truth. Each one a record of what was done in the name of holiness. And when I walked again through the square days later, every step felt heavier and yet more certain. Eyes followed me, some with pity, some with shame, and some with quiet awe. The priest did not meet my gaze, he had won the moment. But I had won the silence that followed, because silence, and true silence, and is never empty. It echoes, it carries, and in that echo the truth survives. For though they tried to burn the voice from my throat, the fire only spread.